Hi, welcome to Gardening with DC. In today's seed series video, we're going to have a quick look at the 5 things you need to know about getting started with backyard chickens. Now, we're on location here today in Annandale, and helping me out, we've got Alfie, we've got Adelaide, we've got Lucy, and Alfie, who are you holding there?
Bobby.
We've got Bobby the chicken, and Adelaide, who are you holding there? Bluey. So we're helping out with chickens. Now, let's start off with number 1. Why should you have backyard chickens? Well, they're the ultimate recyclers. You give them scraps, and in return, they give you delicious eggs. Now, obviously, the better quality the scraps, the better the quality of the egg that you will get as well. So that's really point 1. They are the ultimate recyclers. Now, as well as scraps, it's really important to give them a formulated grain, a layer feed. I give my chickens an organic feed. It's about double the price of a standard feed, but when you compare them, you can very clearly see what you're paying for. Now, within those scraps, chickens do have some really favourite foods. My chickens, or our chickens I should say, they love sweet corn, they like bacon rind. What about you guys? What's Bobby's favourite food?
Strawberries.
Strawberries. And what about Bluey here?
Bread.
Just bread. So there you go. So they have some favourite foods as well, and of course they have some don'ts. So a few important don'ts would be don't give them potato scraps, onions, and rotten food as well. Now, they will eat rotten food, but let's not be giving it to them. So that's why they're the ultimate recyclers. Now, what type should you go for? Well, a sort of a standard chicken now for the backyard is the Isa Brown. You can also have Leghorns, Rhode Islands, Australoops, or you can be a bit fancier. Alfie, what have we got here? What is Bobby?
A silky bantam.
A silky, okay. What have we got here? What's
Olive egger.
a blue olive egger? And why is it a blue olive egger?
Because it's blue.
It has a different colour. Is it blue or is it green, the egg?
Green.
Blue, green. It's a different colour. So there's lots of varieties out there. So don't think that you just got to be limiting yourself to an Isa Brown. You can have a fancier variety as well. Okay, so we've had a look at why they're the ultimate recyclers and some of the types that you could go for. Let's have a quick look at what their needs are. Now, they're pretty simplistic, and I'm going to divide them up between day and night. During the day, what they want is a bit of ground to scratch around in. They also, within that scratching area, like a little bit of dry ground to have a dust bath in. That's how they clean off lice and other parasites such as that they will inevitably pick up. So day, just a bit of a ground, scratch around in and have a dust bath. At night, really, they just want a little bit of a stick coming out of a pole, something like that, that they can roost in so that they are off the ground, so they get that sense of safety. If you imagine any sort of documentary where you sort of see birds, generally ground-dwelling birds in the wild, they're scratching around during the day looking for food, but then they fly up into a tree during the night so that they're safely off the ground. Exactly the same principles for our chickens. So if you give them some ground to scratch around in and then somewhere off the ground to sleep in, you're going to go well. Now, of course, you also need a nest box for the eggs, because otherwise they will lay their eggs where they desire. And also, hopefully within all of this, it's a bit of a given that you give them food, water, and a little bit of shelter from the weather. Now, I must confess, my chickens, they still hang around in the torrential rain. I don't know what's going on there, but it's a good idea to give them a little bit of shelter. Okay, so scratching, roosting, it's pretty much as simple as that. Okay, so we've had a quick look at why, the ultimate recyclers, types that you can have, and what are their needs. Okay, let's just have a quick look at, can they be pets as well? Now I'm going to ask Lucy here first. Lucy is my youngest daughter. We have chickens at home. Lucy, have you ever held chickens?
No.
No. Okay, so the first thing to stay and point out is that if you do want to sort of treat them as a little bit of a quasi-pet, it's really important to handle them and get them used to being handled as early as possible. Our chickens are very flighty, aren't they? What happens if you try and pick them up?
They fly away.
They fly away, they run away. Okay, now, Adelaide, I happen to know that you are big friends with Bobby, the Silkie. Tell me, what are some of the favourite activities you do with Bobby?
Going on this slide.
Going on this slide? Wow, what else?
On the swing.
And going on the swing. So there you go. So they really can be pets. I can verify that that does take place. Should add, Adelaide is my niece. Now, Alfie, what about you? Alfie's my nephew. What's your favourite thing about having backyard chickens?
Get to eat the eggs.
Get to eat the eggs. Hopefully that proves a little bit of a point that they can be kept as pets. Thank you, you guys, for your contributions today. Okay, so it all sounds pretty idyllic so far. Are there any problems? Well, let's wrap up and have a look at some of the things that you might encounter. Now, sometimes, obviously completely inexplicably, chickens will sort of fall over and die. It happens. There may not be an obvious reason for it. One way you can countenance that is to try and get as big and as healthy a chicken as possible in the first instance. I once had a very sort of regrettable incident where I took Lucy's two older sisters, this is quite a few years ago now, to buy some chickens, and they of course chose the two smallest in the flock, and they were the smallest because they were the weakest, and they somewhat inevitably didn't go on to live rich lives. So be aware that they can sort of keel over inexplicably. Now, if they do appear a little bit sick, and a good way to understand the health of your chicken is to have a look at their combs. If they're nice and bright and looking good, it generally says you've got a healthy chicken. If they're looking a bit sad and bedraggled, then maybe you have to do something. Now, what I would recommend is a little bit of garlic. So exactly like us, a bit of a cold, a bit of a virus, something like that, garlic works really, really well. So just a little bit of garlic in their water, or a little bit of garlic diced up, can pay a really good dividend. If they're looking a little bit crook, you don't have to suddenly go and spend $500 at the vets. Now, when you do get them, it's really important to sort of home them. They will sort of take off on their own accord if not, so you just want to keep them in their home at least for the first sort of 24, 48, 36 sort of hours, so they know this is home, and also where the nesting boxes are as well. Some people often ask about worms. It'll be really obvious. You can see worms in their poo without being too graphic about it. I've never wormed a chicken. I've been keeping them here in Australia for I think about 15 years now. If you want to, you can worm them every few months or so if that's a concern. Another concern can be predators. So here we've got a completely secure place. My chickens at home range pretty freely. There's a dog there. I've never had a problem with predators coming in and hassling the chickens. But be aware of that. If you're in an urban, sort of localized urban environment here, as we are in the Inner West, probably got some foxes around, so it's really important that they are able to be securely locked in at night. Another problem that sometimes people come across is chickens getting broody. What that means is that they want to sit on that egg and hatch it. Nothing inherently wrong with that. You can just clear them off and pick up the egg. But what can happen is that the chicken will want to stay on the nest. It won't eat and it won't drink as it should. Okay, so it becomes both nutrient and water deficient, will inevitably get a little bit sick. So it's really important, if you've got broody chickens, that you just physically lift them off the nest and take them to water in particular, but also to food, and just do that regularly, and they'll inevitably stop being quite so broody. Okay, well look, I think that pretty much wraps us up. Those are the 5 things I just wanted to chat about. If you are thinking about getting a backyard chicken, as I say, I've had them for about 15 years here in Australia. I think they are tremendous. They really are the ultimate recyclers. Hope that's been of use, and see you next time on Gardening with DC.